I'm so glad you're joining us today. I wanted to do a mini disclaimer on the audio and video production of this actual episode. It was the last day of Mercury retrograde. That's what I'm going to blame it on. And audio, video, it was tricky to get things going today, but we had an amazing conversation. I am not going to be worried about perfection. However, my Virgo rising side has to do a disclaimer because I'm used to higher quality, higher standards. So anyway, please enjoy today's episode, and I'm excited that you're here. Let's get started. Welcome to the Birth Education Center podcast, hosted by myself, Care Messer, an entrepreneur, birth educator, and doula. My team and I want to help you discover your options in birth and postpartum, how to find your voice, and how to use that voice to navigate our maternal healthcare system. You and your baby are not just a number. This information includes doulas too. Now let's get started. We have a cool show for you today. Nikki is going to be joining me in my next Hypnobirthing series. So this is the first time we are actually talking face-to-face. We've done a little texting through Instagram as she was getting signed up for class. But she had some curiosities about her fears and things coming up. And so I kind of want to introduce you to Nikki and then have her tell you a little bit about her background. So welcome, Nikki. I'm glad you're here.
Hi.
You're taking a vulnerable risk by coming on with me on live TV, so to speak. So
I'm excited. I am so excited to take your class. So this is going to be fun.
Well, and I want our audience to know that Nikki has an amazing Etsy shop. She's an artist, and we both have a love for dogs. She's got corgis. I've got Pomeranians. So as soon as I saw, because I stalk people,
Oh yeah,
who
we all
wouldn't?
do.
When you contacted me first, so I feel like you're fair game. And I fell in love with her Etsy shop because I have a big, deep respect for artists because I am so not that. My creative talents come out in other ways. So anyway, it's beautiful. I'm going to link it below just so you know.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about your fertility journey, like what's been going on with your pregnancy this far, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually got pregnant in 2020 and it was not planned. Obviously 2020 was insane. I found out I was pregnant right when we went into lockdown.
Yeah,
And
2020 wasn't even planned. So there's that.
I know. I know. So we went into lockdown and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel sick all the time. I think I'm pregnant. I waited 2 weeks after I missed my period to take a test because I was kind of in denial. And so I took the test, I was pregnant. And then because it was 2020, my husband couldn't come with me to the doctor or anything. So I decided to wait until like 10 weeks to go and have an ultrasound. And when I went, they let me know that it looks like I'm having a miscarriage. So no baby forms, but the gestational sac is still growing. So I had ended up having a miscarriage, but I had no idea what a miscarriage was. Or, I mean, I understood that my body had to expel what was inside of it, but I didn't. And let me know if I get too graphic, but
Hey, it's a birth podcast,
okay.
everyone. So yeah, stay your stuff.
So I just didn't know. And I'm Rh negative. So they let me, and my husband's positive, and they let me know that, hey, once you start bleeding, because I wanted it to be natural, because they offer you a pill so it'll speed it up, or they can do a DNC. But I said, I really want to just let my body pass it naturally. And she's like, okay, well, it can be really painful. And I thought, oh, I've had painful periods before. And I just thought, no big deal. And then when my body, it took probably 3 weeks for it to finally start coming out, and it was spotting. And my doctor said, okay, you have to go get the RhoGAM shot, but it was Memorial Day weekend and there was no doctor's office. So then even the urgent care didn't have it. So I had to go to the emergency room just to get a RhoGAM shot. And something that cost like $35 with my insurance ended up costing $3,000. Because they tell you that if you don't get it, it can lead to further miscarriages in the future. And that's why I went and got it. And so I'm in there and they're treating me like I'm going through something horrible. And I said, I feel fine. I just need this shot to protect my body so it doesn't produce antibodies and there's an issue down the road. And then there is a male doctor and he goes, well, do you want me to examine you to see if your miscarriages is going to come out soon? And I said, no, like get away from me. Just give me the shot in my butt. Let's
Like,
go.
no point. Move on.
And so that doctor said, well, do you know that miscarriages can be really painful? And I again said, oh, I've had really bad periods before. It's fine. Well, I was not aware about how painful it was. I think a lot of it was fear because when it started, I had no idea what my body was doing. I thought maybe, oh, is this a little bit like labor? Because you have kind of these really strong contractions, but I didn't know how much I would bleed. I thought there was a little like I would say like silver dollar size clot that came out, and I thought that was it and I was done. And it was just the beginning of like so much blood. It finally came out. It was way bigger than gestational sac. I didn't even know what it was. I called the doctor and she goes, "Oh, I don't know what that is." And I'm like, "Why didn't somebody tell me that this?" In my mind, I had never been pregnant before. I'd never seen anything about miscarriages because people don't talk about them, which I try to talk about it as much as possible now because I think it's really helpful for other women. And so many women go through them and you wouldn't even know. But it was like large, it was big that came out. And I'm like, no wonder that hurt so bad. But once it was out, oh my gosh, I felt so much better. And it made me realize now, thinking about birth, that I was so fearful. I was so tense and I didn't know what was going on with my body. Nobody told me that my body had to expel this gestational sac. I mean, you see it in a ultrasound and it just looks tiny. You have no idea what it is.
Because there's all the lining tissue, like, there's a lot that
Yeah.
has to clean out to refresh and start over.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
also had no idea how much blood volume we gain in those first 12 weeks as well. And so when all the blood came out, I thought I was dying or something.
And how would you know, right? Am I losing
Yeah.
too much blood? Is this normal? Am I fainting? Like,
Yeah, that's how
nobody
I
talks about
tested
it.
it. I was like, if I turn white, then I'm going to think, and I was throwing up too. That was another thing because I was having so much pain. But then fast forward to, so it started in 2020. And then after that, my husband and I kind of gave it a break for a year and a half because the world felt so crazy and we didn't really know if we, not that we didn't know if we wanted to have kids, but it just felt like now might not be the greatest time.
I
So
mean, it's
then
still crazy.
I know,
So
I know it
you weren't
never
off
ends.
on that
Yeah.
thought.
Then we started trying again, I think in 2022, towards the middle or end. And I wasn't getting pregnant. And I take really good care of my body. And I was very confused why I wasn't getting pregnant. Another thing I want to mention is that so many times the man is never considered. We just think that their sperm is golden, their age doesn't matter, the amount of alcohol they drink doesn't matter. And it
Doesn't
does.
matter what they ate the
Yeah.
5 months before they actually try and inseminate somebody. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is so false.
Yes.
They are half the DNA component.
Yes.
Yeah, very false.
Totally. And nobody really talks about that either. And so, anyways, I wasn't getting pregnant. I think it had been almost a year. And I went to my doctor, and well, actually, something else I learned during that time is you're supposed to have sex every other day. I thought just have sex as much as possible, but they're literally shooting blanks. But nobody told me why they said to have sex every other day. So I just thought, okay, well, maybe they're wrong. They're not giving me the reason why. And then my doctor finally said, oh, because there's no like healthy sperm in there, or it's less viable sperm. That was something else I learned. Then I learned, oh, I thought something was wrong. So I asked my doctor, please give me an ultrasound. She goes, I think you're just stressed out because I was spotting outside of my period. And I said, no, 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 please, like, give me an ultrasound. She gave me one. And I could tell it was bad because when I was in getting the ultrasound, the technician was showing me everything. And she goes, okay, let's go over to the right ovary. And then she goes, we'll come back, and never said anything about it. And I found out that I had a dermoid cyst the size of a grapefruit on my right ovary, which was scary. Luckily, it was non cancerous. and my doctor had the blood taken to tell you whether I guess there's something in your blood that can show them whether it might be cancerous. And it was not, but it was terrifying. Crazy to me, that doctor told me to still try to get pregnant, even though I had that huge, which could have caused a major issue if I got pregnant. I felt that my body was
Wow.
protecting me by not letting me get pregnant. And I'm really actually thankful that I didn't. I ended up going to another doctor to do the surgery. She did the robotic surgery, but she had to take out my right ovary with it because she just couldn't save it, which was really sad considering we had been trying. And then I thought, well, now that I only had one ovary, do I have less of a chance? Actually, I learned something I did not know. It's because I had both my fallopian, or I have both my fallopian tubes. Your other fallopian tube will grab an egg from that ovary and it'll still produce and I have a tracker and I still ovulate every single month. Even though that happened, which was such a trip. That's not ever the case for everybody, but it was for me. So I was very thankful. Once that got taken care of and I healed from that, then we started trying again and I got pregnant 4 months later and I had another miscarriage. That miscarriage was super early. It was at 6 weeks. It felt nothing like the first one. Night and day difference. Again, I had to get the Rogaine shot, but it was $35 because I could just go to the regular doctor to get it. And that was 2024, February 2024. And then after I healed from that, we tried and tried and tried. It's really hard too as you age because like my husband would be away on work trips or regular trips, or I was away on a trip and that's your fertile window. And then you don't have that time to have sex and get pregnant. But luckily, we got pregnant in November of last year. Before that, I got Lily Nichols' book on food for fertility. I think that's what it's called. Real
Hmm.
food for fertility. And in there, she talks about the male as well and the sperm. And I talked to my husband about it. He started taking the vitamins from Fullwell, and we started both taking their fertility booster, which is CoQ10. I think that's what it's called,
Hmm.
CoQ10. And I really, really think that that was super helpful. And he started drinking less. I stopped drinking. I would drink maybe like a glass of wine a week or something. But about 3 years ago, I just cut out all heavy drinking. I'm just not good for you, anyways. And yeah, I got pregnant and now I'm 21 weeks today. And it's been going great. I feel good. The baby looks healthy. My blood work's good.
Yeah. And then there's still the past of
Yeah.
all the things. And I want to point out something too, because I know you're frustrated with the medical model of care, because sometimes it's crazy. And the
Yeah.
things that come out of people's mouths, right? Like with your first miscarriage, do you know it can be painful? Do you know how bad this can be? Right? Why would you need to say that? And could you say, if it gets really uncomfortable, here's what's normal, here's what's not normal, and when you would need to come back? Like, give me some solutions
Yeah.
instead of just spouting off what you read in your medical text
Yeah.
at some point or heard from another doctor. That is such a disservice to people that are just because we don't know a lot about miscarriage. And having
Mhm.
six, mine were all different. I had
Oh my
DNC
God.
two, and then the others just like you, like, I'm going to pass them normally, but what is normal? I don't know.
Hmm.
And in my brain, am I going to pass a baby that looks like a baby? No,
Yes.
not at 6 weeks. It's tissue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But all the stuff you hear, it's all false for the most part. And it's just not talked about it because no one wants to talk about anything that has to do with grief, pain, discomfort, anything uncomfortable, which is a disservice because it's
Hmm.
something that happens to us and we need to integrate it, mourn it, all the things, right? Because that affects us going forward with our pregnancies and our babies. And I experience that too with providers just spouting off something but no solutions, and wording matters.
Ugh. I'm going through the wording right now because I'm 39 and pregnant, and I'm so tired. I just went to my OB appointment 2 days ago, and she said, "Oh, they're doing all this testing because you're old."
Thank
Like,
you.
I am not old. I don't feel old. And also, they've been telling me this for like five appointments. I'm actually going to switch doctors. I made an appointment with another doctor that my friend, I think she might have done your class too, but she had a super good experience with his team. And she said she never once felt old or anything like that, or they never even said that to her.
Yeah, and when I was at the hospital, it was geriatric. It was over and over. We're going to do all this extra genetic testing because in a day you're all going to combustible die. Like it was always a very heavy thing. And when I switched to midwives, it wasn't even talked about. It was, oh, you're healthy, your blood work's good. Like we don't worry until there's something to worry about, and everything
Yeah.
looks great. And I see it over and over with my students. We're having babies later, but we have more access to healthcare. We're eating differently. We're taking better
Yeah.
care of it. We're not partying
Yeah.
like we were
Oh
when we
my
were 19 to
gosh.
24, right?
If I was a mother in my 20s, I would not have been a good mother. So this is my path and I honor that. And you're totally right. You can be healthier in your 30s or late 30s than you were in your early 20s or mid 20s.
And I understand, statistics can be higher. We are an obese
Hmm.
nation, right? We have fertility issues. So we're doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And that does increase risks of certain things. However, why aren't we looking at the person, not the patient, but the person in front of us and see, maybe, yeah, there are some risks. Are they showing up yet? No. So why don't we treat as if this baby's viable, this mom is doing great, and feed that healthiness instead
Hmm.
of you're going to get sicker and we're going to have to induce you and you may end up in a C-section and all of that, because that
Yes.
affects how we move through our pregnancy.
Uh,
100% affects it.
100%. I agree with you. I set a boundary with my midwife the first time I met with her because everything in that appointment was about me being advanced maternal age. And I emailed her afterwards and I said, I understand that you have to tell me these things and I appreciate them and I appreciate the extra testing, but I don't want to keep moving forward with you using this terminology because it's affecting my mental health and the way I feel about my body and my pregnancy. And I need to be in a positive space right now. I can't be in this negative space.
Especially when you're so grateful to be pregnant. And every
Yes.
day you're like, it's exciting, it's exciting. And people that don't have miscarriages or haven't had them don't understand that we're checking our underwear every single time we go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
We are waiting every day to make sure that that baby is still here. And
Yeah.
it's really difficult to connect in a lot of cases because we're
Yes.
so afraid of the loss because
Yes.
we've had it.
And I am so thankful for the friends that I have who have had miscarriages because people are excited for you and like my parents and my in-laws and they'll say, "Oh, are you so excited about the baby?" And I I'm starting to feel a little more excited, but no, I wasn't in the beginning. It's not that I don't want the baby. It's that I don't know if it's going to go all the way because the other two haven't. And there's always this thing in the back of your mind. And I felt really um, upset about that feeling. And I felt that it was wrong for me to have those feelings. And talking to my friend, it made me think, oh, it's not. It's just this is how you feel. And there's nothing wrong with it. And people who haven't gone through that don't understand it. And that's okay. They don't have to understand it, but it's okay if you say, I'm not that excited because I'm kind of like waiting on pins and needles.
Well, and I'm gonna ask for your consent to give you feedback as we go through this call.
Yeah.
Um, and if I overstep, you can absolutely say, no, I don't want to talk about that. And I'll respect that. That's fine. So I do have your consent.
Yeah.
Just double checking.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
Uh, Two things. One, your feelings are 100% valid no matter what, and they will fluctuate, and honor those feelings, right? Second part, connecting to your baby has to do with the reality of the situation moment by moment. So if you're feeling frustrated and anxious about what if I lose you, you can have that conversation with your baby right now and say, I'm really nervous today because I felt you move and I wasn't used to that feeling. And I'm afraid that you're on your way out.
Yeah.
And it's valid. And the baby understands and hears that they're having their
Mhm.
own lived experience inside you. So your feelings are their feelings because they're not autonomous yet. So when you
Yeah.
give explanation with that, right, as they go along, they're going to have more sight, they'll have more hearing, but it is a feeling and recording in their cells of what the emotional state of you is. So when we're stressed and we're anxious and whatever, or when we're happy and we're blissful, and then we back up because we're so afraid of losing the
Yeah.
baby. So the next thing is, I want you to dare to love this baby moment by moment as if he or she's already here, already part of your family, because she is.
Yeah. I love that. And I have been trying to do that more of living in the moment. For the most part, I'm a very joyful person and I find joy throughout the day. And it is getting better the more, we've had the two anatomy scans and the baby looks really good and I can see it moving and it's grabbing its feet and I feel more connected. So I'm really thankful for those. In like, the medical world, I'm thankful for that, even though not other things. But those have been really helpful. So I totally agree with what you're saying to just go moment by moment because that's all you have. And that's all we have in this entire life for everything. We can't just worry about the future constantly.
And I think one thing that we don't talk about with parenthood is we are so fearful of what if my kid gets kidnapped? What if my kid this? What if
Oh,
my kid that? That we are not focusing on the spit up on our bodies right now and the whatever that's happening because we are so forward thinking of all the dangers.
mhm.
We have no control over that.
Yeah.
And things happen to us in real life now that we have no control over, and we are focused on worrying about it. But taking a step back to just focus on the beauty and the joy and the heartache that comes with parenting and pregnancy and all of that, just validate feelings and stay focused on baby. What are they feeling? We're doing this experience together. How can I connect deeper? And how can I love no matter what? Like loving, knowing that that could go at any moment. We experience that with our partners.
Oh, yeah. Or our pets or like our
Oh,
friends,
pets. You just hit
everybody.
my Achilles heel right
Oh, I'm
now.
so sorry.
No, that's right where I am, right? Every day
Yeah.
going, are you okay? Are you going to be here? You
Yeah.
know, because that
Yeah.
that transition is hard.
Oh, it's so
So,
hard. And you just, like you're saying, it's just cherishing every single moment because it's the only thing that we have.
absolutely. And I should tell our listeners we connected a lot through her art because I'm one of my dogs is passing right now. And I found a lot of joy in your art because it made them
Mm.
happy. And that's how I want to
Oh, I
capture
love
her.
to hear that. Now you're gonna make me cry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all your pregnancy hormones. That's what I'm going to blame this on. So let's start with what kind of fears are coming up for you now. A lot of it is obviously addressed in class. And I do intake calls ahead of time. This is kind of a broadcasting intake call, basically, but
Oh,
I have your husband on the other intake call. But talk to me about what's kind of on your heart right now.
I okay, your whole life as a woman, you're taught to just be terrified of birth, of the pain. And that was a major thing. I'm not going to lie, that probably kept me from trying to have a kid for a while. And that is sad to me because I have many friends now who have had very beautiful experiences. And one of them took your classes. And I'm so thankful for her because she was able to give me a positive perspective about it. But that was initially my first big fear. And then when I got pregnant this time, I thought, okay, I need to handle this right now. I started doing a hypnobirthing or listening to hypnobirthing book and just learning about what my body's actually doing, the hormones that are going through my body has helped me tremendously. And also seeing other people's positive experiences because the this book in particular has a birth story at every end of the chapter. And that has been super great. But that book has been super helpful for me. So I feel like, yes, I am going to need a little more in terms of dealing with the pain, but I'm going to learn all these special techniques and everything to do. That feels more, I feel a little bit better about that aspect of it now. My major concern now is the doctor and having to basically fight with them. I don't want it to be like that, but I want them to respect my preferences and not to offer me interventions that I don't necessarily need, or if they're just trying to speed me along this conveyor belt, because that's kind of how our medical system works. That is scary to me. And I met with my OB, like I said, a couple days ago, and my goal, I know that things can change because birth can be unpredictable, but my goal is to have an unmedicated vaginal birth. And she said, that's great. The people that I see that do best have prepared for it. She goes, if you come in and you're like, I'm going to try to do this, you're getting an epidural. And I said, oh, I totally like, I'm a planner. So I have a course. I've been listening to a book. We hired a doula and I'm like ready to do this. But she said she's not actually the one that is going to deliver the baby. She said it can be anybody in the group and everybody has different levels of what they're comfortable with. And I'm thinking, what you're comfortable with, this is my body. And I'm gonna have to, if you're like, oh, I want to get off my shift, you need a C-section. So like I said, I have a doctor's appointment with another doctor who is very well known at the hospital that I'm giving birth to do a lot of unmedicated births. And I'm hoping that they can fit me in and I'll be a better fit because I heard they just respect your choices a little bit more. But that is my fear right now is I'm going through the pain. I want to stop calling it pain because I know that's a major thing, but I'm going through the surges or what the
Or the
strong,
discomfort.
yeah, the
And
discomfort.
honestly, you can use the word pain because it's a process your body's going through. It doesn't mean your leg is cracked in half. It's not a
Yeah.
broken pain.
Yes.
It's discomfort in a heightened, intense state that can be mediated through the right kind of hormones and positions and stuff.
Yes. So now I'm just really concerned about the doctors telling me like you have to do this and if you don't your baby's gonna die or whatever or you're gonna die.
Right. And are you going to Dr. Cap? Is that where you're interviewing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I will tell you that's a good choice. And you're right to question your providers because one thing that people don't know is they think they see the same OB or the nurse practitioner, which is not going to be the one delivering you. And they love that nurse practitioner or they love that particular doctor. But most practices are big and some are 54 doctors. They're huge and it is a rotation. You don't know who it is. So I appreciate the fact that your OB said everyone's has a different comfortability level. Awesome. Thanks for being honest about that. And what that means for you as an autonomous person is I'm going to look for other care.
Yes, I am really happy that she said that. And then she also said that she will not, for example, she will not let a mother birth on all fours because a baby broke its clavicle and she thinks that it's too dangerous. And I'm like, you won't let her do that.
So you're hearing the language. So that's good. That is the part of it. You're hearing the language. And babies break their clavicles in other ways too. And it's so rare. It's so rare. And there are so many factors to that, right?
Yeah.
There's so many factors that go into that. So and that's her comfortability level. Awesome. That is good for somebody. It's just not good for you, right? And I will tell you with the particular doctor that you happen to be going to, I've seen all the kinds of positions and I've seen more hands-off care in that particular practice than anywhere else because the comfortability level is moms understand and connect better with their bodies than I do. If I see something that needs to be, looked at, because doctors that are comfortable, doctors and midwives that are comfortable with vaginal birth, they're looking 17 steps ahead and they know what's normal because they see it all the time. They're not so trained in surgery that they're like, I could take care of this in 15 minutes. Let's do it. Right. Yeah. And so that's the comfortability level. We as a society need to understand that and then choose what's going to be working for us. Mm-hmm. So you're picking an expert in vaginal birth. That's the practice that you're looking towards. And if for some reason you weren't able to because of your insurance and you couldn't switch, that's when you learn more about the process of being autonomous, understanding that you're in charge of your body always. You have to have informed consent for everything. And it's not a fight. It's when you get there, you're going to build a team. You're going to let your expectations be known ahead of time in your birth plan, your preferences, but you have to do the work in order to be open to as that birth flows. Right? Yeah. Because you're right. The baby is that third wheel that's really actually the one that we should be paying most attention to more than ourselves, that says, I know I'm an escape artist. I know how to get out. Yeah. So allow me the opportunity and check your fear at the door and let's work together. um, you're already on the right journey to that, is seeing that, I'm a 39-year-old woman who makes her own decisions, her choices, doesn't ask permission to go to the bathroom anywhere. I eat what I want. Know how to take care of myself. Why would that change if it's just a different process that my body's going through?
Yes, that is another major thing that I think women have been taught not to trust their bodies anymore. And like you don't know what's going on with your own body. And I've gone through other things as well with the medical system. I was having really bad bladder issues like 9 years ago. And the doctor was like, "Oh, you have this and you need to get on this medicine." And I said, "No, I really don't think that's what's it." And the medicine he wanted to put me on actually caused blindness. They actually like discarded, took it off the market. And I'm so glad that I didn't just listen to him. And that was not my issue. I actually had stretched out my bladder. I didn't even know that was a thing. But the female doctor I went to, she did the catheter or whatever, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you stretched out your bladder." I know this is a random story, but it just made me question the medical field so much more and professionals. And we just outsource our trust to these people, and they're human too. Of course, yes, they went to school, they have medical knowledge, but a lot of the stuff is based on old studies. That's something else that I'm learning when I want to eat sushi, and the doctor's like, "Oh my god, don't eat sushi." And then you look into the research and you have like a higher rate of getting listeria from the lettuce at McDonald's or something. But it's just, you really have to be your own advocate and you have to trust your body. And like you were saying, with the baby knows how to get out, that was something I learned when I worked with a few girls who had home births. I had no idea. She's like, "Oh yeah, the baby like pushes out. It knows to get out. Like it's trying to come out too. And you work with it." I had no idea. I just always thought you had to push it out as hard as you could.
Which is why it can take longer with an epidural, because now you've numbed yourself and baby plays off your interactions with the muscles, and now
Yeah.
you're completely numb. So now they really have to do it all by themselves.
Yeah.
It just takes you out of the equation. And while I'm not saying that's a good or a bad choice, it's just what is. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're both working on that and you're moving your body and you're upright, you're giving baby more room, there's an interactive play that goes along with that. They're trying to tuck their head, and they know if you had an injury with your tailbone 7 years ago and they're like, "Ooh, we're going to have to get around that," right? They know where their placenta is. They know where their cord is. That's their air supply. They know if they lean on one side, they're not going to have as much. So they're going to lean towards the other side. Like,
Yeah.
we have to give them credit as the sentient beings that they are. And speaking of credit, I want to give you credit back. As 9 years ago, you knew it was not that.
Yeah.
So pay attention to your intuition like you did.
Mm-hmm.
If that is right or good information for you, right? We take in the medical knowledge because, yeah, I don't have a degree in medical stuff, but I know that's not it for me. I feel it. And we are taught to numb that out and look at the
Mm-hmm.
white coat and say, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Okay, cool."
Yeah.
Not always the best choice. And that's part of getting educated for birth, is once you understand the process, it's so different because you work with your process. And we did that when we lived in villages and tribes because we saw birth over and over, and that was just a normal, it's like having your period. It was just
Yeah.
normal. And
Yeah.
since we're so disconnected from it and the Hollywood, and that's probably the one thing that dads say when they come into class is, "Oh my gosh, all the births I've seen on TV and in movies." And then you're showing me all like, it's so polar opposite. I'm like, I know. It's like, which one's fake? You look
Yeah.
at both of them and you're like, okay, these ones are actually real. There's actually a baby coming out of a vagina.
Yeah.
She's not screaming and hitting anybody.
Okay.
And there's no one touching, pulling, prodding. And then the ones that we've seen on TV, they're completely different. And part of that washing of your brain is we have to reset that
Mm-hmm.
because you just haven't seen it in real life.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I took a child development class when I was 18, and they had us watch a birth, and she had to, I think people had to consent to watching the birth because it was traumatizing.
It was a birth.
The men, but she was so peaceful. She was just breathing. And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen anybody give birth like that." And the teacher goes, "Oh, well, that's not normal." And I'm like, "Why are you saying that?"
And why are you showing it then? Because you could show one that was horrific, but you're not.
I know. It was really interesting, but I always wonder maybe that stuck a little bit, seeing somebody be peaceful and giving birth. But okay, I just remembered another fear I have when you said white coat. I get so anxious when I walk inside a hospital, the doctor, my blood pressure literally goes up. They always tell me, well, it's normal, but usually my blood pressure is like low, like 111. But it's never that when I go into the doctor because I get so nervous.
It's
And
called white coat syndrome, and it's a real
yes,
thing.
yes. And that is something I'm worried about because I know I want to be in a tranquil peace of mind or a space when I go to the hospital. And I know I can do things with the room and change it and stuff, but that's a piece that I'm nervous about is as soon as we pull into that parking lot, the adrenaline's gonna start and the oxytocin is gonna start going down.
Well, so there's actually really good news with this. You can start practicing right now with all of that, and part of it is feeling safe.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling safe with your provider, feeling safe with your doula, feeling safe with your partner, because that can overshadow the, oh, what if? Because, and you practicing that right now can be done. So one of the things when parents are afraid of the hospital, they're afraid of this, is start going to the hospital.
Okay, I was thinking that because I was thinking how I desensitize my dog to certain things. Like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
have to train myself like a dog, basically. When she goes to the vet, she gets treats, she gets pets, she likes it
Yep,
there. So I have to do that for myself. So maybe I'll like go there and then get a
absolutely.
little treat after.
Absolutely. So, Scripps Encinitas is where you're going to be delivering,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
So they have a great coffee cart right in front, like right as you walk in the doors. They have amazing nurses, all that kind of stuff. One thing that works really well, and now that it's not lockdown COVID central, you can take one of your favorite essential oils and with your meditations, go into the lobby and sit in the waiting area because they've got some comfortable seating in there. Put that essential oil that you like under your nose. So you're associating calm, peaceful tranquility with this orange scent under my nose or
Oh, I love that.
citrus favor or whatever it is,
Lavender.
lavender, exactly. And put your meditation on and just sit there and do a meditation.
Oh, that's a
You're
good idea.
programming yourself like my feet are on the ground. I'm solid. This is the same foundation that I will be delivering my baby on, right? And
Yeah.
you might hear things going back and forth. You're going to have the changing of the lights with your eyes closed, all of that while you do that 20-minute meditation. No one's going to think you're weird. It's Encinitas. It's the hippie central.
Yeah.
You guys, if you're in San Diego, that's where you want to go to the meditate in the hospital. If you're in Connecticut, they look at you like you have four heads, but right here we don't. And then get yourself a treat on your way out.
Yeah.
Grab
That's
your
a good
decaf
idea.
coffee, grab your donut, whatever is there, and associate it as being a very peaceful place. Because
Hmm.
one thing that we do is we transport mammals out of their natural habitat to have a baby. Why do we do that? Because we
Yeah.
think it's better, right, whatever. And you
Yeah.
also have to understand the way we set you up for birth in a hospital, we give you a gown that's foreign to you. It's not as
Oh, I will not
cozy
wear
as you,
that.
right? We hook you up to high-tech machines so you immediately think, "Oh my gosh, I hope everything's safe." So we have to realize how it's set up and then counteract that with, "Oh, when I go to the hospital and the bands they put on, they're listening to the baby. It's
Yeah.
not controlling me, it's not uncomfortable. It's the give and take that I have when I go to the hospital. Can I ask for a Doppler to get a quick and over and in and out? Yes, I can. You're also
Hmm.
with a practice that can do stuff like that. But
Yeah.
um, once you start figuring out that you're an autonomous being with choice, this is kind of freaking me out. Curiosity, why? The other thing is you can definitely, there's two things. Some people are very scared of their weight. They don't want their weight taken, right? Because they've had weight issues. You can step backwards onto a scale and not ever know
Oh,
your weight. Okay,
yeah.
so check that off your list. You can ask to have, I'd really like my blood pressure taken at the end of the appointment. And I'm happy to do that for you because they got to put it in the chart.
Oh, I never
Okay.
even thought of that.
Yeah, that's something super easy. Another visualization that you can do, pink happens to lower your blood pressure.
I love
random.
pink.
So, see, I know, me too. I always say add glitter to it because everything's better with glitter. But as you're sitting in that office, imagine yourself in this beautiful shade of pink that feels cozy and warm, and it can just start dribbling from the top of your head and just flowing down your body. So you're in
No,
kind
I
of this
love
cloud
that.
of pink. And then you get your blood pressure taken, and you just imagine that pink because it can drop your blood, which I'm glad that pink does that because it's my favorite color too. But have some sparkle there and feel that as your baby's magic,
Yeah.
like surrounding us with pink and joy. If it's a boy, whatever, you're going to get in touch with your feminine side right now, buddy. But there, those little things that you can do to make it your experience because you always have a choice. I can stay
Yeah.
freaked out and hate this and have it be a traumatic thing for me, or I can take control of what I can take control of. And I'm going to
Yeah.
choose to make this experience calm and peaceful. And I'm going to breathe deep and enjoy every visit. And if something comes up in the visit that I go, ooh, I'm a little nervous, I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to wait for a response. Part of being afraid of the white coat is feeling dismissed and having that authority figure step on you.
Hmm.
And when you can look at them, I always want to humanize my provider and
Yeah.
make it about we're connecting on a human level instead of doctor patient.
Yes.
How are we connecting as humans? Because that makes a huge difference in talking to each other by name instead of you're my patient.
Yes.
No, I'm a human
Absolutely.
that's coming to you for your expertise, but I still want you to recognize that I have a worry about this.
Hmm.
And I'm going to go research it. So I'd like you to give me the numbers and whatever, and I'm going to go research it and find my balance because ultimate decisions are always yours. No
Yeah.
one can make you or do, they can't make you not be on all fours.
It's so true. And I don't know why that is so mind blowing to me. Of course, I'm the one that gets to make the final decisions, but it, it just, yeah, no, you're so right. Nobody can make you do anything.
But
And
culturally, we have trained you that way,
yeah,
not
it's,
only as just a person, as a patient, as a woman.
yes,
You'll do what I say, right? Think about how we grew up in school. We had a principal, we had a teacher, everyone was over us. And
yeah,
this is how you are made to conform. And this is what's best for everyone if you conform. Well, now we're talking about, yeah, that's social structure. Okay, I'll give you that. This is a process that my body is doing perfectly every day without your input.
yeah.
Your 22-week baby right now is growing beautiful eyelashes, a healthy heart, cool kidneys, beautiful skin, gorgeous hair, and no, well, maybe you could be bald. And nobody is going into that belly every day to make sure that's going according to plan,
So true.
right? So there are things that I'm going to know about my baby before you know about my baby because I have intuition and I'm connected to he or she. Do you know if you're having a girl or boy yet?
No, we haven't. We have it in an envelope and we just haven't looked. We don't know if we want it to be a surprise or
Oh, but it's a
not.
surprise right now. So I'll just
Yeah.
call it he, she right now. Um, but yeah, we do have a choice in everything. We have a choice as to whether this is going to be a make it or break it decision, or I'm going to look into options, doctor. Thank you so much for your input. And I'm going to talk to you about this next week. You know,
Yeah.
we don't need to ask permission from authority figures, especially when it comes to our bodies.
Mhm.
They are our consultants, but we have the ultimate decision-making process, you know, and we will talk about this in class, but I want people to have an understanding of the hospital for what it is. It's a corporation-owned building for profit.
Exactly. That has been my biggest thing lately. Just when people ask me about how it's going, and I'm like, I'm just realizing that our whole medical system is for profit. Literally, like it's it's just wild to me because you have to think about that when you think about them pushing you to do XYZ. And I because of my age, an anatomy scan, they wanted me to have it at 13 weeks. So I had it at 13 weeks. They couldn't see the kidneys. Of course not, because the baby is tiny. And so then they wanted to do it at 18 weeks. And I said, I really don't think that I need that. And the doctor was like, you should listen to them. And because I was getting another one at 22 weeks and I listened to them, but now I'm being charged for the 22-week one outside of my insurance because it's not covered. And part of me just thinks, was that really necessary? And I probably should have said no, but I just said yes because they play on your fear. And the kidneys were fine, by the way, when they looked at the 18 weeks.
Well, and you know what's interesting? It's like I can have one every single week. Am I going to have any more information? You can't do anything about it,
Yeah.
right? But we don't think that. We think with our fear because
Yeah.
there's someone standing over us with that authority figure mentality, which we've been trained since we were little. If I was there with a friend, and they were questioning it, what information is that going to give me that we can actually solve by stepping outside and doing an extra one, an extra one, an extra one? If the information was, are we going to terminate?
Yeah.
Then we need that information to decide that,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So and that's what we should question. What would this test do to give me the information that I'm going to be making a certain decision with? If I'm keeping this baby no matter what, every test you run will not matter because however that baby shows up in my arms, we're going to deal with it.
Hmm.
Right? Yes, would I like a heads up if there's something going on? Absolutely. Can that wait for 3 weeks? And can we focus on being happy and healthy and eating right for my baby right now?
Yeah.
And there's also those women who are like, I will stress out for 3 weeks if I don't know right now. Right? So what's our mental state? And making
Yeah.
our decisions at the time for ourselves is always the right answer,
Hmm.
because we regret the fear ones. Those are the decisions that we go, God, I knew better,
Yeah.
you know?
Luckily, I haven't made any huge fear ones. The one thing for me was, and I'm not telling people to go either or on here, but when I went in, they told me that I should be like early. I should be taking a baby aspirin every day because I'm 39 weeks. And
Or 39 years old.
oh, sorry,
Yeah.
39 years old. And I don't want to take that. Aspirin gives me heartburn. I hate it. I don't feel like I need it. I've done research about other things you can do in your diet. Of course, if you do have a risk for preeclampsia, I'm not giving any sort of medical advice or anything like that. Just what's right for my body and my intuition. And I asked my doctor, I said, how many women get preeclampsia at my age? And she goes, we just recommend that you take the aspirin. And I'm like, no, I want to have a conversation here. I'm trying to get information so that I can make a better decision about what's right for me and my baby. And it's just frustrating to me that they can't have that conversation. And that is where my fear comes in with getting induced and stuff like that.
Ask more questions. Like you're dead
Yeah.
on to say, I would love for you to get the actual numbers for me if you could email those to me because I really want some informed consent around that, and all the latest research. So you can
Yeah.
totally ask that of your doctor. You're paying them, right?
Yeah. They work for you technically.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be confrontational. I think sometimes we go, oh, I hate the medical system. And so we butt up against it. And it
Yeah.
is not a matter of that. It's a matter of I deserve to be listened to.
Hmm.
Here's my question. Can you give me the statistics? And
Yeah.
it's not, well, that's how we've always done it. Okay, cool. Why?
Yeah.
And what's the latest research? That's okay too. I'm going to go to evidence-based birth and I'm going to start listening to all those podcasts. I'm going to start reading all that documentation.
Yeah.
If we have more information than they do, that's unsettling
Yes.
on both
Yes.
sides. It's unsettling to the doctor who now feels attacked, which is not our goal. But also, I understand people attack them all the time. So I see both
Yeah.
sides of it, right? And I'm just coming to you as a consumer to get the latest research because I want to do what my intuition is telling me to do because I really trust it. But I
Hmm.
also want to recognize that there may be things I don't know, which is
Yes.
why I'm asking you for that. And sometimes they're just not going to give it to you and that's not their cup of tea and you may be able to switch. And sometimes you're just going to have to be like, okay, we agree to disagree
Hmm.
and I'm not doing it. Or
Yeah.
yes, I am going to do it overstate. You don't think I need to, but I feel like I need to.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I will tell you, even with my pregnancy, there was this weird machine. I can't even remember. It was called Baby First or something that was a thumper. It like had different patterns that it would play every day. And you did it like a week at a time. And you did an hour in the morning, an hour at night. Baby, I think it was called, I don't know, something smart baby or whatever. And everyone was like, that is so stupid. And I'm like, I just feel like I need to do it. And so I had this little thumper thing that did different patterns all the time. I thought, making my baby so smart. And at the end of the game, when I had Finley in the NICU and they had given me 24 hours to live, one of
Oh
the
my gosh.
doctors said, oh, you didn't know that about me. We'll talk about my birth
No.
story sometime. But he looked at her brain scan and he said, I cannot figure out why her hind brain is so well developed. And he said, that is what is keeping her alive right now. He goes, she's kind of on life support, but not really. But he said that I've never seen a hind brain so well developed.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
immediately went, I know why. And I told him about this machine, and he was just like, that's crazy. I'm like, I know, everyone thought it was crazy to do it. And it was like $300 at the time, which was so much more money than I had to spend on it. But that was more important than me buying clothes for my pregnancy. So I wore the same clothes all the time. I didn't know why, but my intuition, as soon as it came up on my radar, I have to have that. Even my
Wow, that's
husband was like, that looks
incredible.
really stupid. You have that stupid thing. I'm like, I know. I just do thump, 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 had it on all the time. But that hindbrain is what saved her brain till it could recover enough to
Oh,
live. So
wow.
I don't question when a parent says, this is what I feel. And even partners say stuff like, I don't feel this is what we're supposed to be doing. And they're
Yeah.
doing the research. Well, you guys are both invested in this. Keep exploring that.
Hmm.
And in birth and labor, so as you're switching to the doctors that you feel comfortable with, if you can, right? Sometimes you can't. That's why a good education course and the good support with the doula, right? Especially if you want to have a non-medicated birth, you're going to
Hmm.
stay home in labor
Yeah.
and you're going to relax during early labor because you know what your body's doing. And early labor could be 3 days off and on, or it could be 6 hours. And when I mean 3 days off and on, it's like revs up and then it kind of dies down. And
Yeah.
it's not like it's actual labor-ish, but it feels like it. And you're like, it could be
Hmm.
today. So you don't tell
Yeah.
your whole family yet because it's not. But we don't know because your baby knows what it needs to do ahead of time to make it out I mean, you have to trust that they know what they're doing. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're thinning everything out so that they can dilate quick and get out because they know their cord's short.
Hmm.
So I don't want to be compromised. And it's interesting me doing placenta work because sometimes I can look at a placenta and go, I'm going to ask if this happened in their labor. And,
Wow.
sure enough, like, yeah, it was this way, or it was attached funky or whatever. And I said, was this a long drawn out labor with XYZ happening? And then it came really fast, and you can tell that a lot by the placenta. Who would know that?
Wow. That's
The baby knows
fascinating.
that.
Yeah.
So trusting and getting that information early allows you to go with the flow, but then it comes right back to, am I vulnerable enough to trust myself to lose by following the trust that I have in my baby and go through this process? Because I may have the vision of this natural birth that takes 3 hours and fairy dust and angels, and then baby goes, hold on, I need to bond with dad because dad has this issue. And so it's actually going to be a cesarean so that dad is the one that's holding me in the NICU and doing XYZ. And that wasn't your plan, but it's not always about you. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's the connection of dad needed to claim me in those moments or connect to the family. Like we don't know that. And babies are way smarter than us with that
Hmm.
process because they come with a higher knowledge, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe in coincidence. I don't believe that some of this wasn't contracted with before. I do believe that it was contracted before. And I know that personally from my own birth and adoption experiences with my kids, but I watch it play out over and over with the people that I am blessed enough to teach and instruct and, walk alongside as a doula or whatever. So all of that reconciliation of what I think I need, what I hope to have, what is actually supposed to be for me has to be kind of integrated while we're pregnant. And throughout postpartum, because that's going to change as well too. But if we could start early in pregnancy, we flow through the birth process better because we're like,
Yeah.
I trust my body to do what's right. I trust my baby. And another thing I want to touch on too, when we talk about pain, you can go back to that first miscarriage and be like, what the hell just happened to me? And I've had, women come in like, well, if that was bad, what's labor going to be like? And I
Yeah.
said, right, but did you have the tools to breathe deep? Did you know that you could put a warm compress on your belly to help with that? Did you know that someone could put pressure on your back during those moments and you could stay hydrated? No. So you were curled up
Yeah.
in a fetal position or stayed on the toilet in this cold, dark room, miserable, instead of understanding the process.
And I think the fear too, because the fear was so major. And I remember I called my husband to come home because I was just afraid because I was in so much pain. And it lasted for like 4 hours. But I remember I made a decision in my mind towards the end. I didn't know it was towards the end, but I was like, okay, I can use the same amount of energy to be so afraid of a terrible outcome, or I can think of the best possible outcome for this. Like it just comes out and I feel better. And literally that switch in my mentality did something and it like came out like 15 minutes later and I felt so much better. And I also asked my husband to pray for me and I'm a spiritual person, so I think that too made me feel more connected to him and just like trusting that God was going to take care of me. I think that made all the difference because when it first started, I was just terrified. And the fear, it like you're saying, it makes you tense up your whole body. You're scared. You're not doing anything to help you relax. I mean, I was trying to breathe, but
But I love that you have the recognition that I can turn this over to trust. I have
yeah.
a choice. I can be
Yes.
super pissy and balled up, or I can let go and just allow what is to happen because you can't stop it or start it, right? What
Yeah.
will happen. And I can go with that energy. And then your body goes, cool, let me release it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
those are building blocks. And I want people to go back to their life. When have I had those experiences where when I finally just gave up the ghost and said, whatever, that everything just like,
Yeah.
what is that teaching me? We all have those experiences, and that's our life's blood lesson. Like, we've lived those experiences. And if we can do that during pregnancy, labor, birth, postpartum, it goes so much smoother because we control out of fear.
Yeah.
And I like fear. Fear is one of my best allies because it shows me where I need work,
Mhm.
right? So I'm like, ooh, but if you can use it as a compadre, someone that's going to walk with you instead of lead, it's a totally different experience because they're there to go, hey, curious, be curious about this part. You're scared of this. That could be from your past. It could be, I don't know, 17 years ago, but you're like, ooh, that's coming up for me. That curiosity helps you go, oh, but that's not this reality. That came up last time because this happened to me and it was horrible. But I'm in a different situation and look at my partner and I've got support and I've got a doula, the best provider, whatever it is. But we have to realize that those past experiences that we have lived absolutely come through our pregnancy, labor, and birth and our postpartum,
Mhm.
100%. As we're integrating those, it makes it a totally different experience. But I want you to really feel that you already know how to do this.
Yeah, I do. I'm honestly thankful for that miscarriage because it taught me a lot about fear and the way I think about things and also how strong my body could be. And, and afterwards, my husband, he was like, wow, women are so strong.
Just wait
And
till I actually have a baby
I
baby that's eight
know.
pounds, my friend.
That's what I was thinking, but I I felt good after. I was like, "Yeah, I did that." And I was so proud of my body. I remember getting in the shower and just telling myself, "I'm so proud of you for going through that." Because it's not only physically hard, but emotionally it's hard too. I mean, it was unplanned that we got pregnant, but then you start to think about, "Oh, we could have a baby and the baby could be a soccer player and all this and all this stuff."
Yep.
And then, you have disappointment because it doesn't work out. But I am thankful for that experience because it taught me a lot about myself and my body and also about my mind and how that can really impact how I feel. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it's so true, and that just made me think of I don't know where I read it, but basically that women are a portal between 2 worlds, and I just thought that's so beautiful, and it just changes my view of having a child and laboring and giving birth and all of that. It's like you are the men can't do that. They don't get to do that. It's actually a privilege to be able to give birth, but we've never been told that before, and it's such a wild thing to think about because you nobody is going to be like a privilege, blah, blah, blah. But it is a privilege, and it's pretty incredible to be able to be that vessel on earth. Yeah. 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 Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and you feel proud of yourself. Yeah. 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 Hmm. Yeah. 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 Oh, thank you. Honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I feel like I have good things like the course, and then we just hired a doula. Like I feel that I'm set up to succeed. And just educating yourself and learning can put your mind at ease so much. It's really the unknown that makes you so fearful with everything in life. Just not knowing is why you usually get so afraid. But now I have more information. This has been super, super helpful, and you've given me so much good info. And I hope that talking about my journey is helpful for other people as well. And especially when it comes to miscarriages, because like you were saying, it's not talked about a lot. And I think it's so valuable if it is, because one of the major things that I felt was people would say, "Oh, you have fertility problems," or like, "How are your fertility issues going?" And I told my friend in October last year, I said, "Please stop saying that I have fertility issues. I do not have fertility issues." And I really think saying that like stopped it in my mind and allowed me to get pregnant. Now, I know everybody is different and their journey is different, but for me, that was a major block because it's like you feel like you're broken or something, and oh, everybody else around you is getting pregnant. It's so easy for them and they don't have a hard time. So what's wrong with you? And there's nothing wrong with you. I fully believe like our paths are meant to go where they're meant to go. And I kind of just had to let that go and trust that I was where I was supposed to be. I literally would say that all the time. I'm like, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And that just that simple phrase has helped me so much. But um, yeah, I'm a big advocate. I hate that when people are like, you have fertility issues because you had miscarriages. But a lot of people have miscarriages and get pregnant, and it's not, and some people don't. So that's like another issue too. But you're not broken. That's all I want to say. Yes. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Luckily, my friend is so sweet, and she actually had three miscarriages and then got pregnant with a healthy baby, and now she has almost a 1 year old. But the doctor's like, well, the more you have, the more you're probably not going to get pregnant. And then that's another layer on top of it is you're having these professionals tell you. But it's you're right. What are we telling ourselves? Because that was another thing I told myself for a long time. I was terrified of losing who I am as a woman when I have a baby. I think that was a major block for me. That's like a whole nother story and lesson. Or feeling like your family members want you to have a baby. And I'm like, I don't want to do it just because they want me to have a baby, or they keep saying little comments. It's like there's so many factors involved. It's not black and white. It's not linear. Everybody's path is so different. Yeah. Yes. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what I said. Yeah. 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 I always joke that right now God's teaching me a final lesson in my 30s because my 30s has been such an incredible growing experience. But my final lesson is letting go of control. And it's so hard, but it's like the perfect way to learn that right now because I'm going to have a newborn soon and I'm not going to be able to have my business exactly how I want it to be and I'm not going to be able to do exactly what I want to do, but that's okay. I'm just transforming into a new version of myself. I'm still me. I'm just transforming. Mhm. Yeah. 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 Me too. Aw, thank you. Aw. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Kara. This has been amazing. And thank you for everything that you do because your podcast is a great resource for women. Okay, great.
Thanks for joining us today. And remember, it's your body, your choice, and finding your voice is your power. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us in all the places, and go to birtheducationcenter.com for our blog and more online education classes. And we'll see you next week.